Hi again, reading group. So picking up where I just left off, which was going over the requirements for the unit overview. The second part of what you will submit as a part of the unit plan is 5 days of lesson plans. And these will need to be the ONU lesson plans. I know those are kind of long and tedious. But that said, it's good practice for you to go through planning everything out, especially as pre-service teachers. So please do adhere to those requirements for the ONU lesson plans. Let me know if you have a hard time finding that, but you guys should have access to those fillable forms for the School of Education ONU lesson plan. So please plan to use those. And as I already said in the previous video, you are able to use your 5th day to either have students complete the summative assessment or to introduce the summative assessment if, for example, you're having them do a project. Still create a lesson plan for that day, but it's okay for you to use the lesson for that day to cover the summative assessment that students have to do at the end of your unit. Last but not least, please make sure that you also include within your unit any materials that you are using for the unit. So look through your lesson plans, anything that you are going to be using with your students. These should be original items that you are going to be creating, and you will want to submit those along with the unit. One caveat there is that if you have something that you created for this class, so for example, if there's a vocabulary assignment that you created for this class, you are able to use assignments that you've used, things you've created for this class towards your unit plan. In fact, I think that would be a great idea if you created something for concept circles and you really like the idea of concept circles, then I would say that would be a great vocabulary strategy to use for this unit. So just as a reminder, I talked to you a little bit about the process. But just kind of as a reminder for a recommendation for what that process would look like. But that said, everyone kind of has their own planning process, and the entire process is also very recursive. So as you think about your standards, think about your summative assessment, and then do that backwards planning, you may tweak your summative assessment as you're planning for earlier in the week if you realize that something would be better met through a change in your summative assessment. So this is kind of a nice, neat, streamlined way to do it, but do know that the entire process is also pretty recursive. So you'll probably kind of go back to your summative as you're planning your earlier days. You may go back to day 1 as you're planning day 3, and so on and so forth. So in terms of planning for the unit then, as I mentioned, the first step that you're going to be doing is that initial planning for the unit. And in order to help you do so, I do have a proposal that you're going to be working on that I will be providing you feedback on. And what I'm asking you to do for the unit plan proposal is describe for me your overall theme or content for the unit. To include the standards that you're going to be meeting. And like I said in the previous video, I would keep this list pretty short. I think anywhere from 1 to 3 standards even is going to be plenty, with only being able to cover the content for 4 days. So give me the standards that you're going to be meeting. Give me a general rough outline of what you're going to be doing for each day. You don't need to be including every single step for that day, but just roughly what you're thinking in terms of what you're going to be covering each of those 5 days. And let me know which literacy strategies you're going to be using throughout the unit. And beyond just what literacy strategy you're going to be using, you are going to be providing textual support for each of those strategies. So something that you've heard me say, quite a bit in this class is that while it's important to know, strategies, and you guys just did your strategy site, and it's important to have your kind of go-to strategies that you're going to use frequently when teaching vocabulary, the writing strategies that are going to be most appropriate for your content area. What's really more important is beyond just having each of those strategies is for you to know, kind of theoretically, and what research has to say about the best way to teach, writing in the classroom. And so you're going to be choosing strategies, but then you're going to be grounding them in research. For example, if you're going to be having students use concept circles, or, let's say with writing, for example, that you're going to have the students writing for an authentic audience and purpose, which is something that came out of the text that you read, then you're going to be citing from the course text. You guys do not need to go back out and find additional research. Everything that you need for this is right within the course text. But you're going to want to support that with research. So for example, with writing, if I'm going to be having my students create a public service announcement for their health class, where they are going to be sharing information that's going to be shared with the entire school or other PE classes, and students are going to be talking about the negative effects of nicotine use, then I would say that the assignment they're going to be doing is creating a public service announcement. And the way that I'm going to ground that in research is to say, the course text says that students' writing is going to be enhanced, and their comprehension even of the content is going to be enhanced when students are going to be creating it for a real world audience and purpose. And so then what I would cite there is the chapter on teaching writing within the Beers text, which says we should be having students write for an authentic audience and purpose. So I gave you another example there with the vocabulary. But whatever strategies you're using for each of these, that you are going to cite from the course text to say this is supported by research, the different strategies that you're going to be having students use, and you're going to be meeting this throughout the entire week and the unit. So the reading that they're doing, how is that supported by research in terms of comprehension strategies? How are you going to be teaching vocabulary and using vocabulary throughout your unit? How is that supported by research? And so on and so forth. So once again, just demonstrating that you are using literacy strategies from this literacy course to help students best understand the content that you are going to be addressing with them throughout this week. So complete the proposal, you'll submit that, you'll get feedback from me. And just to mention again that if you need help with this, with the planning, if you want to try to conference about your unit, I'd be more than happy to help you do so, and then I'll be providing feedback on your proposal before you launch into the entire unit. So that should be it for now. I know that this was a lot of information, but thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to seeing your plan for the unit plan and then seeing those unit plans fully fleshed out. Thanks so much.